Hello folks and welcome to Tippcast with myself, Shane Stapleton, joined as ever by the head of sport in the Nenagh Guardian, Shane Brophy, and commentator Killian Whelan. Just a reminder, the Nenagh Guardian is out now, so don't be afraid to go and pick up your copy. Shane, it's absolutely rammed full of previews, reviews, the whole lot, as Tipperary GA keeps flying.
Absolutely, yeah. It was great. I suppose to have one All Ireland to look forward to this year on Sunday. I suppose we were hoping to get to a couple more, but hopefully the ladies, the junior team, will end the year on a high. But they have a tough task with Clare.
Yeah, certainly. That's Sunday at 12:50. Tipperary against Clare. 22-year wait for Tipperary. Killian, what do you think in terms of Tipperary's chances this weekend? Oh, sorry, I have you muted there.
You're all right. Look, ultimately, the scenario would be, Shane, it's an All-Ireland final. Anything can happen. So, you give Tipp very much every opportunity. Preparations-wise, I'm sure they're top drawer. The weather could be a factor. Lots of different things could happen, and we have obviously seen over the years that maybe favourites don't always come out on top in matches. So, the scenario here is that Tipp, it's been 22 years, all right. I would say in the last few years got all their ducks in a row on the Camogie situation now, and everyone is playing off the same hymn sheet. And for Tipperary Camogie, it would be great to win an All-Ireland title. A lot of people probably would have expected maybe it would be the seniors that would do it first, but sure, hey, look, beggars can't be choosers, and I'm sure, if they won the Premier Junior title on Sunday afternoon, a lot of people would be happy with that.
Yeah, Shane, we're looking at Croke Park. Finally, a Tipperary team's getting to Croke Park, so that's something. I mean, I know that the quarterfinal was there for the Tipp senior Camogie team, but it's great to be getting back to Croker.
Gosh, look, when you think about it, it's 17 years since Tipperary were part of Camogie final day. Like, you think of, like, that's the mecca for, like, to be part of the 3 matches they play up there. Like, it's and like there's talks of what a record crowd of over 30,000, maybe even 40 was the Waterford really are getting on board. This is a big way for the senior final, but for Tipp, like, there's no doubt. Look, it's been a generally positive year for Tipperary. Look, the seniors have won a Munster title, the juniors won a Munster title. Seniors very, very competitive in the championship, much improved this year. Our minors got to an All-Ireland semi, 16s got to an All-Ireland semi. So look, there's a lot of good work going on, and look, it would just, I don't think a defeat on Sunday would dent a lot of the pro. Like, overall, it's been a positive year, but you'd love to see it would just bookend the progress. And like, if you're a Tipperary and you're trying to get up to the level of the so-called big 3, I think number one, your second team really needs to get into the intermediate grade. It lifts the standards. And like, I was just chatting to that manager David Sullivan about that last week, and like, he made a fair point that Tipperary have won all their, like, they were in a group of 3, but they've only had 3 matches in the championship, and they've won all 3 of them by double digits, which does them no good. They are a fish out of water, but so are Clare. Like, Clare, a senior team, they want to get their second team into intermediate, which will drive them on too. So it's a huge game from that respect, because if Tipp get up intermediate, it makes the junior team then more appealing to girls that maybe said no at the start of the year. David Sullivan said that David made 80 phone calls at the start of the year, and like, to put a panel of 30 together, and then maybe a couple of girls came in and maybe decided after a while it wasn't for them. So, like, I'm sure it's like everything. The seniors, the fact that they made progress last year, there's definitely players in a lot of clubs who maybe didn't see inter-county for them, but now that they see maybe things are improving, all grades, there's girls out there who might put their shoulders on the wheel next year.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the scorelines that Clare have had this year. They beat Louth 417-3, Tyrone 327-2, Roscommon 319-5, hammered Cavan then 314-7, and in the semi-final it was close enough against Armagh, 22 points to 215. And Tipperary had a lot of big victories, like you said, Shane, as well, double digits. Killian, we're coming into this game probably not really having a clue how it's going to pan out.
Yeah, ultimately, because as you mentioned, they're big scores, and obviously Tipp would have done the same with Wicklow and Cavan in their group. I think the barometer that you have is obviously the Cavan result for both teams. So Clare won 314-7, and Tipp won 314-19. So that might be the only game that you really could use it as a barometer. But like, Tipp had, I suppose David I know what he's saying there, that ultimately, the 3 matches were double scores and more. The Roscommon game, though, they really put it up to them for the guts about 50 minutes, 55 minutes there. And I keep going back to a chance that Roscommon had that would have made it a 1-score game that was clawed back down off the crossbar by Aoife O'Brien. And the next movement, it saw Jean Kelly a bit fortuitously, all right. It was a shot at a point, but it dropped short and into the net. And that then, just it allowed Tipp to ease all the way then to the end, and it basically burst the bubble on Roscommon. But so they were in a tough semi-final, and that probably is the only thing then that I'm trying to hang this on to give Tipp every opportunity, because I do think Clare are the favourites here. I think they're a little bit further down the road than Tipp in regards to the whole plan in place. They got to an All-Ireland semi-final 2 years ago. They were very disappointed that day to lose to Armagh up in Clane, and they just seem to have got progress behind, and a bit like Tipp, running the two hand in hand. The difference probably is that they train together, the juniors and the seniors train together, and like it was a very unusual and great to see in Donaghmore Ashbourne. The senior panel, I'd say there was about 20 of them, were in Donaghmore Ashbourne to cheer on the junior team, and I know there's family connections between both and everything, but it just goes to show you that the Clare setup is very much a family kind of coordinated group, and that's why I think that if you're a bookie and you're laying on the mark, you're probably going to focus this one on Clare. But like, again, go back to Tipperary. Look, the 3 victories that they've had, big scores and everything like that. So that still justifies, though, that they have the talent, they have the scores, they have the ability, Shane. So, and again, I'm talking about getting to Croke Park, getting to an All-Ireland final. Maybe the pressure is not on Tipperary, and that's where, you might just go for broke a little bit.
Shane, Jean Kelly has scored 10-15 and 10-9 of that from play. Can you talk to us about her, and also who else might be supporting her in terms of the scoring?
Yeah, it's both a positive and a negative, in that if Clare's game plan probably is going to try and shut Jean Kelly down, because if they do, I don't know where the rest of the Tipp scores are going to come from, because like she's got the vast majority of them. So like then you'd be looking at the likes of Aoife Malachney, hopefully to set up Ciara Brennan, so Ciara McKeough. So like I think a lot of the rest of the Tipp forwards have got to step up to this. But then on the flip side, David Sullivan, the Tipp manager, managed Scarlett Fagonlo previously, so he knows probably a lot of the players, so he'll be able to maybe set up defensive matchups maybe on players or key players that probably need to be stopped as well. So there's a lot of intriguing stuff in that. There's no doubt, like 10-8, what was it, 10-15, like it's fantastic scoring, the vast majority of that from play. And I know she's been previously in a senior squad. I know it's 2 levels down, but I would thought if she has another big game on Sunday, it's hard not to think that she wouldn't be good enough for a call up to the senior squad next year.
Yeah, how good is she, Kelly?
Jean is very good, yeah, and some of the experience that she obviously has already garnered being in around the seniors. You just know she's, how to put it, Shane, and this is not going against any of the other players. You just know she's something different. She just, her positional sense, her ability to get on the ball, to come out hunting for it. She's not willing to wait. She's, and then when she's in around that goal area, there's only one thing on her mind, that when you're getting 10 goals, I'm sure she knows where the back of the onion sack is. She's very good. And that would be, I agree with Shane, that would be the only worry, that if Clare are able to close her down at all and stop that ball getting to her, it's going to take some of the others to step up, because Clare do have a better spread in the forwards, in my opinion, from what I've seen. So, I'm sure that's something David is trying to get through to the Tipp midfield and forwards, that someone else is going to have to step up. And maybe that's what happened, Shane. Again, All-Ireland final day, Clare go along to the target Jean Kelly and they leave off somebody else, and that's the person then that just clicks on the day and, get a couple of goals or a couple of points, and that could be the difference.
There's a lot of a famous fellow Anacarty player in Pat Fox, like left-handed hurler, eye for a goal, like, so she got that from one of her club mates.
Clare don't lack for experience either. Laura McMahon's a former senior captain. Grace Carmody, brilliant in the semi-final as well. Eve Mulqueen, she's a very good. Like, they have a lot of very good players that Tipperary need to be worried about, Shane.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Look, it's like Clare would have probably had a disappointing year at senior level. That probably, I don't know whether that group of players they had over the last few years, which got to regularly to quarterfinals, I'm not sure whether that group has maybe gone over the hill a bit. But like 4 years ago, they got to an All-Ireland minor final. Like, so like they should have loads of talent to come through. Maybe I would think there's probably a good crew of that team on this Clare panel at the moment. But again, it's a massive occasion for both teams, huge for both counties, just to hopefully end the thing with a bit of positivity, because as I said, we need Clare and we need Tipp challenging at the top end at all levels going forward. Like.
And Killian, then, if we're going to start to put your head on the block here, what way do you see this going?
Well, look, I know I'm on with you lads, and I'm sure the Tipperary crowd will be hoping I'm shouting, that it would be Tipperary. It's going to be a bit of an ask, I think, and it's purely down to the spread because, Laura McMahon drives everything from centre back. They have a very good midfield. Grace Carmody had an excellent second half against Armagh when really Armagh were putting it up to Clare. Like, Clare were 6 points down at one stage, and she brought them up the mountain. I'd say not once but twice, and she got 3 big scores, and she was our player of the match. That they're going to have to really work hard in the middle of the field, and then the spread of scores. Sarah Loughnane will take a lot of the long range frees, 45s, everything like that. But the two that I will be keeping an eye on will be the likes of Leisha O'Donnell and Jennifer Daly. Jennifer's one of the famous Daly family in Scarf Ogonnelloe. There's triplets there. They all play on the senior team together then with Scarf Ogonnelloe, but there are a number of them involved with the senior team. But Jennifer's progressing as one of the young. I think she's the youngest of the family, and she's progressing up with the Premier Junior crew, and she got 3 points the last day. So like she's busy. She has a burst of speed. She came very deep for a lot of ball and would take off. 40, 50 yards of a run. Leisha O'Donnell is very tenacious, tigerish. They're 2 Scarf Ogonnelloe players that David's going to know very, very well. And wing forwards, they're going to be, I think, someone that will be feeding the ball then to Sarah Loughnane ultimately. So I just think there's a middle diamond there for Clare that's going to have to be shut out of the game. And I think Tipp are going to be, they're really going to have to be at the pump, Shane. It's going to be a full go, I think, for 60 minutes. There can be no stage of where they're standing looking around and, oh, geez, we're in Croke Park. I think they'll know all about being in an All-Ireland final with this Clare crew. I'm just going to give it to Clare purely on, I think that they're just a little bit further down the road than Tipp. But I wouldn't be surprised with David and his form, and it might be the greatest game, because I think if he goes into it, he may just have to go into a defensive plan in order to shut down this Clare side. So it might be shooting the lights out like we've had in previous Premier Junior finals. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I just give Clare, a victory of about 2 or 3 points.
And Shane, your own fellow Laura man.
I'll balance it out. I'll wave the blue and gold flag here. It's all on the day. Like, both teams probably first time in Croke Park. I think it's who holds their nerve the greater. And like, from Tipp's point of view, like, there's some brilliant storylines on Sunday for Tipp. Like, you look at remember 2008 when Liam Sheedy first became Tipp manager, and he was doing the post-match interviews, and he had his 2 daughters lifting him up, and now he has a daughter playing on Croke Park and All-Ireland final. That's just be so special for him. Like, of all he's done in Croke Park for Tipperary, I'm sure this is nearly the icing on the cake now, to have a fan going to watch his daughter playing in an All-Ireland. And then you look at Aoife Malachney, corner forward, 21 years playing for Tipp, like back to under 14 level, first time in an All-Ireland. She's also a selector of the Tipp minors. Like, she loves camogie. She's the daughter of the great Pat Malachney, who won the famous quiz question, like, who's the only player to win an All-Star without ever winning a championship match? Tipp, her father, Pat Malachney, won 2 All-Stars in goals for Tipp in the 1979 and 1980, like, when Tipp were in the doldrums. And I suppose there'd always be a bit of slagging. She was telling me that Pat would be showing I'd be 2 All-Stars, but if she wins an All-Ireland on Sunday, she'll be able to show there's my All-Ireland medals. Like, so I just some Brian Clodagh Horgan is the daughter of Brian Horgan from Kickham's, a former Tipp player and renowned coach in the county. So some really lovely storylines, and hopefully we'll be able to tell a few more positive ones from that team on Sunday.
Absolutely. So that's, of course, as we said, that's 12:50 on Sunday at Croke Park. So hopefully a big crowd goes up to that. 22 years of a famine Tipp are looking to end there. And the football All-Ireland on Sunday, we'll just quickly talk about that. We normally wouldn't really go down that route, but Shane, Dublin are back on top, 115 to 113. I was there. There's a fair bit of commentary in the last 24 hours about Paul Flynn, who, of course, is the GPA, talking about how Michael Fitzsimon's a guy I know well from Coola, smoking David Clifford.
Yeah.
Now, Clifford scored 2 points. He directly assisted 1-2. He left a few chances behind him. I think Michael Fitzsimons did brilliant to put pressure on him throughout the game. But, Clifford's going to be disappointed that he hit a few wides. I mean,
there's no doubt about it. Like, I wouldn't say I think smoked is over. Was I suppose a poor phrase to use, but then I saw the text and said that's a drunk text if I ever saw one. Like, so, but there's no doubt. I'd say Fitzsimons, the pressure he exerted on Clifford probably forced maybe some shots that he probably shouldn't have taken on. Like, and look, I thought it was a compelling game. Probably not one of the great All-Irelands, but I just thought it was engrossing nonetheless. And look, it's like Dublin are a lot like Limerick. Like, you get into the last 10 minutes, they won't panic. Like, they'll do the right thing. And like, you could see coming down the home stretch, they just had more weapons than Kerry, who were very reliant on David Clifford to get shots off. And like, in fairness, look, I give Clifford credit. He didn't shy away from taking shots in the last few minutes. He was just for whatever reason, his radar was off. And look, just got to say to Dublin, and incredible team and some incredible players. And to see, we saw history like in Cluxton, Fitzsimons and McCarthy getting the 9 All-Irelands. Like, it's fantastic for them. And I think it's a game Kerry will have regrets. I remember watching the first half, and I know Kerry went in leading at half time. I got very frustrated watching the game, saying, why aren't Kerry putting more pace on the ball? I thought they were so slow in how they attacked. I don't know whether it was deliberate or not. But like, the one thing you don't do against Dublin is give them chance to get set up defensively. And like, Dublin were completely different going at Kerry. They attacked at speed every time they got the ball. Like, and I thought it was a really compelling game. And like, there's Dublin and Kerry rarely disappoints. Maybe it was the 2013 final, that was the 12-8 game, but apart from that, 2015, but apart from that, they've always been cracking games.
Yeah, I was at that one as well, and it bored me to tears. To be honest, I wasn't that blown away by this game the other day. I know it was a tense finale and all that. Killian, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I wasn't impressed by it at all, because we were being told all week, but maybe this is the harm of some of the national media as well, that, they love Dublin and Kerry and a bit of a love-in, and this was going to be a great game and the two best teams of the championship. I think it was a poor championship overall, in lots of ways, and I think it was just epitomised by the final. I was really disappointed in Kerry, and I don't think Kerry have really been at any element of their pump all year. I just think that they relied an awful lot on Clifford. I don't know whether there was a change of tactic this year in regards that they maybe needed to be better defensively set up or something like that. I don't know, but they were just asking an awful lot then of David on occasion, I think, to be able to get there. And you were always wondering, what if there was a day where he was marked or where he had a bad day, who would step up? Now, in fairness, Paddy, I thought, at an excellent game. He really tried to do as much to pull it along and probably get it over the line. I thought Gainey was involved and probably should have had a couple of more goals, even, never mind just the one that he got. A poor game. Dublin, the lift that they got off the bench, I think McCaffrey had an excellent 20 minutes that he was on, and I think that made a huge difference when you had a Kerry defence that was visibly tiring. I just think he was pushing an awful lot. But look, I still go back to, if Clifford had got two of those chances, even that he got, Kerry win that match, in my opinion, because I think they would have put, don't forget, like, with Clifford not playing well, they had 2 times in that second half, there were 3 points up, and they just didn't finish it off, in my opinion. So, poor enough game, I would have thought. Credit Dublin. It's history in the making, lads. When we're 20 years' time, we'll be telling our kids about the great Dublin lads and everything like that. Great credit to them. Cluxton, Fitzsimons, McCarthy. Has there been anyone better in their relevant positions, in the last 10 years, 20 years? They'll definitely go down as some of the greats. So, but yeah, I look, if I was Kerry, that one is going to gnaw away. It's going to be a big scab on the arm that's going to have to be sorted out next year, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Killian, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll chat to you again soon, hopefully.
Good luck, man.
Cheers, Killian. Thanks for everything.
Okay, so there's an awful lot in terms of Tipperary GAA to talk about, and I suppose, do you know what I'm going to start off with?
Yeah.
We'll just upset everyone straight away and do your club power rankings.
No, we'll talk about the games first, and then we'll do the power rankings.
I'll tell you why I wanted to do them first.
What?
Just because people will see, I've tweeted it out, people will start tuning in because they'll see that the meaty stuff has happened straight away. Yeah. So, let's... I was
supposed to for a bit of debate. Don't hammer me. I'm sorry with my language. I've just got a bit of crack now, lads.
Well, that just shows straight away now how rumbled you are that you've already cursed, which wouldn't be like you at all. First off, let me read out the results from the weekend, just so anyone who's missed out.
Well, I can't even remember what I sent you, so I'll have to open up me document here.
I'll throw it up in a second as well on the screen. But just for anyone who missed the results over the weekend, in the Senior Championship Group 1, Drom and Inch 219, Nenagh 120. So that was Drom winning there. Mullinahone saw off JK Brackens by 7 points. Group 2, McCarthy Burris and Ross Gray drew 21 points to 118. Toomevara fairly well dispatched Kilowan McDonough's by 10 points. Group 3 saw Lockmore beat Templederry by 8 points and Holy Cross beat Upperture Strumban by 6. Group 4 then, Bursley beat Clonoulty Rossmore and Killadangan saw off Turles Sarsfields after a poor enough start to the game. And just you might remind us who won the divisions as well in terms of teams that have, the sort of the fallback of the preliminary quarterfinal. You've yourself muted there, Shane.
Nenagh won the North, so in their group, I suppose they got off to a losing start, but they have a bit of a fallback. But like you really don't want to use it because it probably means you've lost momentum in the group stage, and then you have, I suppose, Turles Sarsfields and Clonoulty. Looks like at this stage, like Turles, you say after a poor start, they might have to use it, like unless they pick up 2 wins in the last few games. So you'd probably think one of Clonoulty and Turles at this stage will probably end up in that, having to play a preliminary quarter final, like so. I thought it was a decent opening round of games. Like I was in Nenagh on Friday night. 2 comfortable winners over Killerwan. Look, I think it has to be the Killerwan. Look, you think when you win a county championship, you have to have an element of luck in terms of injuries, and like they had apart from Craig Morgan, they had a pretty settled team last year. You think last weekend Craig Morgan couldn't start. Niall O'Mara was lost at half-time. Willie Cleary was lost in the second half. Craig came on and he was only about 60%. Cian O'Kelly is still not back from America, so I think he's due back for the second game. So look, it was brilliant. It was there for Toomevara to take, and like in fairness, they were missing guys too. Jason Ryan and Mark McCarthy was suspended from having been sent off against Killerwan in the quarter final last year. So, but look, Toom really got the best out of themselves, and look, Jack Delaney was tremendous. 2-5, 2-4 from play with plus a sideline cut. And look, I don't know what more this guy can do to get a look in with Tipp. Like the last 3 or 4 years, I said to myself, like he has the bit of size, has a bit of cuteness, just at least just to get a look, like, and because like he has the bit of drive too. There's no doubt about it. And look, Darren McCarthy, who was off on the Tipp minors last year, looked pretty well good at corner forward. Got a cracking goal in the first half. Lovely little flick onto a high ball. Had a bit of confident play from him. So look, all in all, great start for Toom, but I suppose worrying times for Killerwan with those injuries.
We're joined now by Gary Toohey of Clubber TV, who's been commentating on plenty of the games. Gary, how are you doing?
Not too bad, lads. How are you keeping this morning?
We're flying. We're just about to go into Shane's club power rankings for Tipperary. So we might just put Shane on the, under the spotlight first, and then get him to explain himself a little bit, and then get your thoughts on it, Gary.
Yeah, spot on, no problem at all.
Yeah, sure. Look, I'm sort of going on. I'm not going purely on results last week. I suppose an element of maybe form from divisions and maybe who our club's missing certain players and things like that. So like a top is Killadangan. I know they lost the North final, but I thought performance-wise, their performance against Turles is probably the most complete performance of the championship so far. So they're number one. I think Lockmore. Okay, look, they beat probably a Templederry side who would have in the bottom 3, but I just think for the players that have 426, like I think they'll be there or thereabouts. Toom haven't beaten the champions, having up 3. Drom, good win over Nenagh. Like even though Nenagh lost, I have them at number 5 because I do think that you put Jake Morris into that team. I do think they're a top 5 team. Mullinahone, good win over JK Brackens, so I have them at 6. Then Clonoulty at 7. I thought of the games that ended in draws, I thought Clonoulty were the marginally the better team on the day. I thought that was definitely a point loss for Clonoulty and a point gain for Burris. Was Clonoulty had enough chances to win that game. I go Turles at 9 because while they were well beaten, I do think the loss of Ronan Maher and David Corbett from that team was immense. So I think you get them back in, they'll be a lot better. Holy Cross at 10. Thurles beat Holy Cross comfortably a few weeks ago, so that's why even though Holy Cross beat Upper Church, that's why I have them where they are. Upper Church 11, Mike Harkey and Ross Gray 12-13. They drew. I don't know what Gary thinks. I think just from reading the match, I know Gary commentated on the game. I'm not sure whether Mike Harkey probably had the better of the play. Maybe that there was a point loss for Mike Harkey. Then you go Templederry. I went Templederry over Kilruane purely in fact that if the two teams played each other now, I give Templederry every chance because they have loads of forwards. It's defensively is where Templederry's problem is. And Kilruane with all their injuries and then I suppose it's hard to see them. I don't know how they'll be cleared up in a fortnight. So that's why I have Kilruane all the way down at second last and JK Bracken's at the bottom. Defeats Mullinahone, couple of red cards, still without Paddy Cadell. So I too think it could be a tough campaign for Brackens.
Okay, Gar, what's the first thing that jumps out to you on that list?
It's obviously the county champions down below in 15. But no, I'd agree with Shane there. Like if Templederry played Kilruane in the morning, I'd be going for Templederry. Like we did the game on Saturday in Borsallee and Dennis Kelly was with me. And Dennis made a fair point like throughout the game. Like Templederry just hurl in patches, lads. But when they hurl, they're fierce impressive. But they must be terribly frustrating, I suppose, from their own supporters' point of view, because when they get going, they really get going. Now, look, you can say maybe Lochmore were maybe in third or fourth gear, as they usually are this time of year. But Jesus, Templederry are very impressive once they get going. And like Sean Ryan, I think only got a point from play on Saturday. But again, he was fierce impressive. He brought a lot of lads into the game. So, yeah, Kilruane down there. I think Kilruane will be in a bit of trouble. But then again, you can't bloody write off Kilruane at all. Like I think they went into every county championship game last year as underdogs. So look, word during the week there, I think Keane O'Kelly is coming back for the next game. So like he'd be a big push on for him.
The thing though is like Shane, can they turn it around that quickly? If you have lads that if they're not at 100% and you're just trying to plug Keane O'Kelly back in without having a chance to gel the team, and I know they have another week or so, but like it's tough going to.
And I wouldn't write them off. Like they're the one club that could really get when their backs are to the wall, they'll come out fighting. Like it's like just 2 weeks do much for Craig's hamstring? Probably doesn't. They'll probably have to strap him up and get him out there. The word was Niall O'Mara's shoulder injury, which he got, probably is a concern now. I suppose anything with the shoulder, if it's even a strain or an AC joint, are very, very sore. Willie Cleary went off with looked like a lower leg injury, so they might be able to patch him up and get him out there. So look, they have the ability to turn things around. They've just got to dig in. And look, we thought this time last year in the county championship that they'd struggle to get out of the group, and they managed to beat Clonoulty in the final group game to get out of the group, and they went on and won the county. So look, they have the ability to turn things around. They will need Jerome Cahill to be big. The Cian Darcy was very, very quiet on Friday night. Like he's got to step into the breach now. Like they really, Seamus Hennessy, like their big players have really got to step up against Roscrea on Sunday week in their second game.
Yeah, Gary, then Nenagh, like when I was watching the game the other day against Drom and Inch, and obviously they came up short. They didn't have Jake Morris there. They were forcing goals late on when maybe they could have kept popping points. And I just kind of wonder, with Barry Heffernan further up the field, I'm not sure how much that suits him. And I'm not entirely sure if he was there for the full game. But like, could they not aspire to be a little bit higher than fifth?
Oh, geez, yeah, look, Nenagh, if Jake is fit, Nenagh are my number one. It's simple as that. Like I said a couple of times this year, and Nenagh are a different animal this year between the conditioning and just the work rate of all the forwards, especially. Like they're working like absolute dogs. And look, I know they lost the game at the weekend, but I was still very impressive with him. Like you take, like I'm not going to compare Jay to Ronaldo or Messi, but he is in that sense. You know, like every club team, I suppose, in any sport have that star player. They were missing their absolute star, their Rolls Royce, and they still lost to a Drum team at full strength by 2 points. Look, you're going to have games where they're going to be panicking and they probably thought they needed to win the game and drive it on, but I wouldn't be worrying from a Nenagh point of view at all. If they lost that game by 7 or 8 points, maybe pick up a couple of injuries or red cards or anything like that, I'd be worried then. But I think from a Nenagh point of view, we have to be very happy with that performance. Like Jake, fingers crossed, will be back for a quarter-final or preliminary quarter-final. They just need to keep ticking along, and keep getting, I suppose, more minutes into the boys off the bench as well. Like I don't know.
I thought it was big that Nenagh needed Tommy Heffernan to take the scoring power. Like with Jake gone, they needed Tommy to have a big game. As he'd been decent in the North games. Probably the scoring pressure didn't have to go on him, but it looked like Tommy decided, look, I have to step in here and 1-5 and play. Excellent performance. And Tommy Michael Heffernan was very good again. So look, I think performance-wise, Nenagh won't be too disappointed. Like, look, you're never thrilled, you're never happy to lose. But I think performance-wise, Nenagh would have been pretty happy with what they got on Saturday.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because just on Tommy there, Shane, or the two Shanes, Tommy didn't score and he was taken off in the North semi-final. He popped up in the North final, I think, with 3 points in play. Now he's got 1-5, so he's slowly but surely coming into it. So look, they'll have a big year out, Tommy, yet.
Yeah, how impressed are you, Shane, with Drom and Inch? Now, one thing that stands out to me is, look, Callanan is there and like he seems to be playing further out the field, and he can obviously score from wherever. But the two Campion lads as well, they must be absolutely stone mad for hurling, because they were on the Tipp panel all year, doing all that training, probably a serious physical level, and they didn't really get much game time at all between them in the championship. So they must be stone mad for a bit of success.
Oh, definitely. And I think they have scoring forwards. They have Seamus Callanan, Johnny Ryan is still at the top of his game, David Collins. And like one guy I'm very interested in from a Tipp point of view this year is, and I think he showed signs that he was coming back to his form last year, was Tommy Nolan. He got 1-3 on Saturday evening. Like Tommy is, I would describe Tommy as sort of Bubbles light. I think he has all the skills, all the ability. I just think it just lost his way for a few years. But he just looks like it's chap that he's sort of, the penny has dropped at him the last 12 months. And I thought he was very good for Drom last year. And I just think he was a guy that played under Liam Cahill at minor level in 2015 when they got to the All-Ireland, lost to Galway. And Cahill will know about him. And I think if he has a strong club campaign and he shows consistency with the club, I just think there's something about his style as an inside forward that would lend itself to inter-county if he was willing to commit and was given the opportunity.
Yeah. Gar, anything on that, or Drom?
No, yeah, Drom as well. Look, on paper, they're probably in top 4. They're probably flatter to deceive over the last couple of years, but like it's probably the youngest Drom team they've had in a long time. So like they are rebuilding. So I suppose you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like I did the intermediate game on Sunday morning, Lytton as well. Like they have probably 3 or 4 lads there as well that would probably come into the senior panel later on during the year. So they actually have a bit of strength and depth as well. Like Mikey Connors only came off the bench for the intermediates. He was carrying an injury. Davy Butler got 5 or 6 points.
Tony Cahill can't even make their senior team, and he's a Tipp under 20. Like so, I don't know if that's a reflection on him or a reflection on the Tipp under 20s. That you really, if you're on the under 20 panel, you really should be starting for your club. I would have thought at this stage.
Yeah, I don't know if he's carrying an injury or not, but no, they've strength and depth there. So look, I think they're nicely and slowly building there. Like I think this year will be too short or too quick for them to be contesting for a county, but they'll be thereabouts in the next couple of years.
Yeah, so Drom obviously like great start to Group 1 there with that victory, and the other team that's started very well is Mullinahone, 2-16 to 15-point win over JK Brackens, and we see here that we have Mullinahone at 6th in the list as well. That's a great start for them, Shane, because like at times in the last year or two they've looked very impressive.
Oh, they have. Look, they had a sticky campaign last year. There's no doubt about it. But just looking at, they might. I suppose they'll have the few old reliables. I thought Owen Kelly in the goals. Paul Curran, the shape this guy is in is incredible. He'll hurl well into his 40s because he keeps himself in great shape. He'll be Sean Curran, one of the most consistent club hurlers in the county. Mikey O'Shea got 2-1 with the Tipp footballers the last 2 years. So like he has a lot of S&C done. Maybe if Liam Cahill decides maybe he's worth a look. Again, I'm watching a lot of these games with a Tipp sort of glasses on to see who's in. I think Conor Whelan, a wing back, the size, pace, athleticism. There's something about that guy. I think maybe if he has a lot like Tommy Nolan, good competitive, consistent campaign for Mullinahone. Maybe if they get into the knockout stages, where I suppose you can learn an awful lot more about a guy. But look, great win for Mullinahone. I was surprised they were actually outsiders of the two in the match last weekend. I just thought Brackens are not the same team without Paddy Goodell. Like he's the fulcrum of that team. Connor is only back from America, only came on at half time. So look, it's set up for the next game. Like Nenagh against Brackens. Like Nenagh have the the preliminary quarter final in the back pocket. So it really is huge game for Brackens. If they lose, they're probably effectively in a relegation battle.
Yeah, then we'll move on to Group 2. So Toom, very good against Kilruane McDonough's, and McCarthy Burris and Ross Gray draw on there. Like, how do you see Toom going this year, Gar? That's an impressive win.
I tell you, look, I wasn't surprised with the result, but I was surprised with the score that Toom put up. Look, I know Kilruane are deflated at the moment with injuries and stuff, but Jesus, that was fierce impressive. I watched the game back Saturday morning, and I was expecting maybe a couple of soft goals. Jeez, Kilruane weren't this bad, but geez, Kilruane just weren't let hurl at all. Like, Toom were very impressive against Nenagh and Doll in our semi-final. And then I just couldn't believe the performance of this Toom team. Like, this is definitely the youngest Toom team I've ever seen. And sure, where did you start with Toom McCarthy? Jeez, Dara was class, lads. And even Kevin there, centre forward, with the socks pulled up to the knee, like he stands out like a sore eye. It's great to see. I love young lads with the socks up, but Kevin and Dara teamed up very well. And sure, look, what can you say about Jack? Jesus, like, he probably had a very quiet North campaign, but when he gets going and the condition on Jack Delaney, lads, it's unbelievable. I don't know. I think they've great balance, lads. And look, they're not going to win a county this year. And sorry, no, I don't want to be, I suppose, writing anyone off, but Jesus, they have the right balance over the next 3 or 4 years. If they keep all this group together, like the lockback, they're full back. Like, jeez, lads, he's just so solid. And I don't know.
McCarthy is a very, very underrated centre defender. Like so.
And Jake Ryan doing a great job on Drom Cahill as well, negating him, Gar.
Yeah, Jake, Jerome and suppose Keane for Kilruane. If you can keep one of them quiet, you probably will be Kilruane. Like, Keane's been well marshalled the last couple of weekends. Jerome's a hard man to stop, I suppose. But Jesus, I don't know. There's something about this Toom team, like Jake and Josh and Jack, the half back line. I think Robbie Cork is a real risky hurler in the middle of the park. And then Darren, I suppose, kind of floats in and out of games. He's like real experience. You know, he kind of reads the game very well. And Shane Nolan up front, like, they probably are missing maybe one more kind of, I suppose, marquee forward. Mark was missing.
To have Mark McCarthy to come back, but I suppose the big thing for Ken Dunn is that they're not reliant on Mark anymore. They have other forwards. So like Mark's only focus now is to play for the team when he comes back. And like, you would think it looks. You'd think it looks unlikely that Toom would win it, but I would have said the same about Kilruane last year. Like, there's one thing about Toom, they're not laden with stars, but they've a lot of good 7 out of 8 out of 10 hurlers, and that could carry them a long way.
And then I suppose the other game in the group, who stood out for you here, Gary, as Ross Gray put up 118 and McCarthy Burris 21. So like, for both of them to not, I suppose, be playing one of the heavy established hitters in the early games, and both of them probably just delighted to also just get a result on the board rather than like the setback of losing the first one and then you're up against it from then on.
Jeez, I tell you, McCarthy, it was like a defeat for McCarthy. They were absolutely deflated after the game. There was a few choice words below us with Eddie Brennan and the crew. They really left that behind them. Ross Gray got a last minute free. Luke Cashin popped it over, probably fortuitous enough. I think it was Rory Ryan coming out with the ball. He's deemed overcarried. I don't think he did, but anyway, it was a decent game of hurling. Ross Gray really needs to bounce back. Obviously, brutal performance against Killangan in the North Championship, but Ross Gray really impressed me. It was the real Ross Gray from last year. But like, you have to remember, McCarthy are a hard seasoned senior team. Like, they're not too flashy. They're not probably going to win your county title or anything, but they're a solid senior outfit. So for Ross Gray to turn up like that, and they could have won the game. Alan Tynan had a good first half. Himself and Owen Hayes had a right battle. Owen actually got man of the match in the end. Owen got a point from play, but it was really solid. Alan got 3. Alan got a couple of scores there, lads. I didn't think he had those kind of wrists in him. They were unbelievable. They were. Ross Gray point of view, you have to say, like, both teams, lads, have to be brutally disappointed. Like, they're coming up against Toom and Kilruane next. Probably one win on the board would more than likely get you survival. So McCarthy were definitely the more disappointed of the two teams.
What do you think, Shane?
Yeah, I just think it's a great point for Ross Gray, and now they have a very vulnerable Kilruane team in the next round. You think Ross Gray, if they can produce a big performance, like, they have 3 points out of 4. Not only are they probably out of a relegation battle, they're 1 foot maybe in a quarter final. So look, it's the next game is absolutely massive for Ross Gray. Like, for McCarthy, like, they're a team I'm sort of waiting to come, but they're not coming. Like, I don't know, like, there's some of the some of those players that would have had a few years of minor level have not kicked on, like whether through, I don't know, whether they've fallen away or look, injury has helped, like the likes of Max Hackett, like he did the cruciate last year. Like, I suppose he's probably not back to his best yet. So, yeah, it's definitely was probably more of a positive point for Ross Gray. Like, you know, you look at McCarthy, you probably think, God, we have to throw in and try and beat Toomey Vara now on Friday week. And look, you wouldn't put it behind them to put in a big performance, because I do think they're, like, while Toom will come in with a bit of confidence, like they're definitely a team that, I suppose, if you look at them on paper, loads of good players, but probably not. They don't have one player that can really terrify you. But like, if Toom back that up and maybe produce another good victory, like, I think you'd have to say they're definitely in with a shout.
Yeah, so Lockmore then in Group 3 beat Tipperary by 8 points, and no surprise to see John McGrath being named as man of the match. He scored 1-9, I think, and 6 of those coming from frees. Tipperary didn't have Gerard Ryan, which is obviously a bit of a blow to them. But Shane, you really are quite sweet on Lockmore this year.
I am, because I just think they have players everywhere. Like, they have they have John Noel. Like, Neil McGrath scored 6 from play. Noel scored 5. Ed Connolly is back. I think he got 2 goals, if I'm not mistaken. Kieran Connolly is slowly making his way back. Like, so I don't think he featured at the weekend, but like from the knockout stages, he could be a key player. John Maher being away, look, that could be the Achilles heel at in defence maybe. And I suppose that
J1 or what's the story?
I think he's gone travelling, so I think he could be gone for the whole year. But like, the worry would be like Lockmore conceding 4-18. I do think maybe this year is this, if Lockmore are going to win, it'll be won with their forwards rather than their backs.
Would you be as hot on Lockmore as Shane would be, Gary?
I'd have them as my number one now, with Jake missing for Nenagh. Yeah, I'd agree with everything Shane said there. I don't think they'll worry too much about what they're conceding. Like, I know they put up a big score against Drom, big score against Tipperary, but again, it feels like they're just going in third gear at the moment. They're just doing enough. Like, it's lovely flashy hurling as well. Like, they're working like dogs, but they have the flashy hurling as well. Like, Kieran McGrath came off the bench and I got 1-1 or 1-2, and again he was just floating around the place. Noah, Liam, John, like, it just has so much talent there. Yeah, I'm very sweet in Lockmore, especially after what I saw Saturday. Like, Tipperary threw the kitchen sink at him, and that was their kitchen sink, and Lockmore just soaked it all up. Like, Tipperary came back at him 2 or 3 times. Tipperary actually went ahead at one stage, or they brought back to the draw, and you could see the Lockmore boys. There was no roar, no ball, and just kept doing what they're doing, and then all of a sudden I think they got 1-4 or something without reply. They're just a class act, and we gave Lee man of the match, but sure, you could give man of the match to 4 or 5 different lads. And this week now, they have the football coming up this week, so like, they'll just tip along nicely.
Yeah, they're like, their football. I always agree that their football helps their hurling, because like the peripheral vision in hurling is incredible. Like, if that all comes for football, you're always surveying to see where there's a man coming off the shoulders or a man in a better position. Like, so I do think while that can help their football, like, we always know, like, the longer the year goes on and they're playing week on week, maybe that might come against them. But look, we saw it in 2021 when they won both county titles. They're a club that are well able to manage it. Like, they won't overtax wise over the next couple of months, as they hope it'll be.
Yeah, the other game of the group then, Holy Cross beat Upperchurch 2-16 to 113. So 10 different scorers for Holy Cross Ballycal. And for Upperchurch, that's after losing the mid-final as well, 2 defeats on the bounce, Gary. Not exactly great for the confidence.
Jesus, not. No, I was very impressed with Holy Cross lads. Like, I think I said it about 100 times in commentary, did 10 different scorers. It was just so impressive. Like, where to start? Darragh Woods didn't score from play, but he set up, I think, 4 points, and he won a free himself. Again, Luke O'Mara went off. He got the second goal. He went off straight after a goal. He got, I wouldn't say a dirty slap down on the arm. Your man came in to block him late on, but it looks like it could be a broken arm or a broken bone there. So he'd be a big loss for them. But look, like, lads, Cottle Barrett didn't touch the ball in the first half. He hit 1 ball in the first half. In the second half, then they moved him up centre forward, and he set up 2 scores. He got 2 scores. Brian O'Mara was solid without, I suppose, standing out. So, like, for their 2 main boys not to be, I suppose, the two men to the 4. Like, this was a very impressive Holy Cross performance. Like, Upperchurch only had 4 different scores. Like, outside Paddy Green, they were fairly route one stuff. So I was very impressed with Holy Cross, very impressed, and yeah, I could definitely see them getting second place in the group after this game.
Yeah, I think just 1-4 from play is all Upperchurch might have gotten this game, Shane. So, like, considering how deep they've gone in the championship in more recent times, this is not a great start.
It's not, and I think the potential was there for it to happen, considering like they came off the disappointment of the losing the mid-final the week before, and like psychologically that was a big blow. Like they're still waiting for their first one, and look, I think it was a result I wasn't surprised with. I thought maybe Upperchurch maybe having the better recent sort of pedigree, they might just dig it out. But look, I think it's a huge win for Holy Cross, because I think a bit like Mike Harkey over the last few years, I'm waiting for this club to sprint to power on, and the last few years they've always seemed to lose their first game, and it's put them on the back foot. Now to have the win in the first game, they'll be able to take off. I think who are they playing the next day? They're playing a lot more in the next game. Like that's going to be a real measure of where they stand. Like they did get a bit of a clipping off Thurles in the mid semi-final, but I'm not sure we saw the best of Holy Cross that day. So I think we'll get a better read of Holy Cross against Lochmore on Saturday week.
Yeah, and then moving on to Group 4, Burrislee 113, Clonoulty 16 points. Now, when you consider that Burrislee had lost that North game against Killadangan by, Burris went down to 14, but Killadangan went down to 13 men, and was the last 6 points in a row that Killadangan scored to turn that game around. That Burrislee were a couple of points behind late on here, Gar, and managed to get a point, even though, and the thing is, Burrislee started the game really well. Should have had a lot of scores on the board, didn't. And I've seen this kind of pattern the last few years. The Mullinagh game a couple of years ago really stands out to me when I think of Burrislee starting well but not getting the scores. Like, Burris will be happy enough to get a draw for a finish, Gary.
They will, but I think this was a must-win for Burrislee. I suppose after this disappointment of the last 15 minutes against Killadangan, I think Burris had to win this game. I don't know. I just look from my eyes looking outside. Like, I've seen them 3 times this year now. There's something just seemed to be clicking. I don't know. It just the natural flow of the forward just doesn't seem to be there at the moment. Like, so JD probably another quiet game by his own standards. So did Jerry. Probably heavily reliant on frees again. But like, both teams were heavily reliant on frees. It wasn't a classic, that's for sure, that game on Sunday. But I don't know. Like, on paper, Burrislee, they probably have a team there that's definitely top 4, top 5. But I don't know. I just don't think it's mixing like it should be this year. I've been very disappointed in them, and I'd say they'd be very disappointed with just a point coming out of the stadium on Sunday. Yeah, well,
what about the Clonoulty side, Shane? Because I felt that their inside forwards missed a huge amount of chances there. I thought Enda Heffernan was very good at full back. Michael Ryan I thought was excellent midfield. Actually, we'll be coming to your team of the week shortly, and Michael Ryan's name is definitely going to come up.
Yeah, look, I know I suppose, look, they got no challenge in the West, Clonoulty, with Anacarty and Cashel. So look, I suppose there was always a chance that if they come up against a real gritty, tough senior team in Burrislee, would get a read off it. And look, there's no doubt about it. The Burrislee back shut down the Clonoulty inside forwards like Danny Slattery and Robert Doyle, who had a great start to the championship. But look, they'll come on from that, I have no doubt. Like, I did think from looking at the game that Clonoulty had way more to possession. They actually got some decent ball into their inside forwards, but they just never made it stick. The Burrislee backs were able to come out with it time and again. Look, no more than Burrislee were relying on frees. Like, so were Clonoulty. Jack Ryan had a good game. I suppose he's one we're all interested to see how he kicks on. He definitely seems to have filled out after his first year with Tipp. So
he's the only Clonoulty forward who scored from play.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot put on his shoulders now.
I put a lot of it down to poor shooting from the forwards. Like, I know they were shut down to some degree, but I think a lot of the wides from Clonoulty were brutal.
Yeah. Like, and sometimes they were slow getting the shot away. I thought there was a few times they had looks for easy scores, but to Burrislee, look, it's typical Burrislee from even back to 2019. They're just hanging games where maybe they're slightly being outplayed. And just Shane, now you probably watch it. What did you make of Jerry Kelly going to centre back? I thought he was very good when he went back there. I thought he used the ball very well when he went back to centre back in the second half. Yeah,
it wasn't happening for him at all in the forward.
It hasn't in the North Championship. I just wonder. Yeah, it's interesting that they've decided to move him back. Like, and maybe get his confidence up.
Yeah, I suppose with the two McCormicks, I suppose Ray going off injured, and then later on, Paddy, who had come on, he also went off injured. There was a bit of a needs must to how Bursley, I should say, had to rejig the team. And I think it makes sense, Jerry, being back there. He's played there before underage as well. I remember him being centre back for the Burrs under-21s a few years ago. I think he'd be good back there. And I actually wonder if Burrs rejigged things a little bit and maybe tried Brendan Maher in the full forward line. Because I think to have a focal point in there, he's good in the air. He can obviously hurl.
Connor Kenny sort of hasn't started the year on fire. He just looks a bit sluggish at the moment.
Well, I couldn't believe that the first couple of points that Connor missed, and when Connor is hot, he's hot, and when he's not, sometimes 3 or 4 mightn't go over for him. But the first 2 were gilt-edged chances as far as he's concerned, and then he ended up finally scoring with his 5th attempt from the sideline, of course, running away from goal, and it was an unreal finish. But I actually think to be no harm, Bursley rejigging, throwing Jerry centre back from the get-go. Maybe trying Brendan full forward. I'm not sure if he'd love that position or not, but I actually think he'd excel in there because obviously he's a good touch. He'd be well able to field the ball and he'd pop a few scores, bring other lads into the play because Bursley's size profile in the forwards as the game went on was quite small. And I'm not saying he's a massive man, but he's certainly able to win a ball. Gary, I'm not sure what you think.
No, come here and listen. You saying all that kind of reminds me of what Nenagh have done this year. They've completely rejigged the back line. Connor Hennessy probably played cornerback, wing back last year. He's definitely going to get called into Cahill, into Thurles during the winter, I'd say, as a wing forward. You could have Brendan there, one wing forward, Connor, the other wing forward. They just don't have that size there in the half forward line at the moment. But that move by bringing Jerry back was very good. Maybe something like JD as well. Maybe pop JD into midfield or something. He's not getting into the games either.
Maher to midfield. I just think they're not getting the best out of Kevin Maher at the moment.
No, exactly.
So lost in the corner forward.
But isn't it up to those lads to get in there and even if it's not working for you in terms of with the ball, you have to make sure you get into the game without the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know yourself, just from playing, you can try as hard as you want, and sometimes when you try too much, the game just goes by. But it's just not working for Burrs at the moment. So look, they've absolutely nothing to lose by moving Brendan up to the forwards. You could have Brendan and Connor inside the forward line, 2 of them half forward line. They've loads of options to change because look, those lads, most of those lads could hurl anywhere.
And then I suppose the final game in that group, Kildangan 223, Thurles 117. Thurles started well, and I know you mentioned no Ronan Maher, no David Corbett. Dennis Maher, I don't think he looked overly comfortable at centre back and trying to sweep and so on. But Kildangan dominated this game. If you took out the early start, Kildangan totally dominated, Shane.
Yeah, no, and look, that's why people, maybe some Nenagh people will be thinking, why have I Kildangan number 1 over Nenagh, who won the North? But I just think performance of the championship so far, and I think we're waiting for Kildangan to do it. That this was it on Sunday, just pure domination. Even the way they responded after giving away the early goal, they had 7 points scored after about 7 or 8 minutes. They were really sharp, and I just thought it was interesting the way they rejigged things. John O'Mara came in at cornerback. They got Brian Mallochny back into the team. You could just see how much better the team ticks when Ty Gallagher is in the middle of the field. He's able to get into those pockets of space, and he's good for 2 or 3 points in play. I thought Jackie McGrath's use of the ball was excellent. Again, he was back from suspension. So Alan Flynn looked really hungry in the middle of the field. And then you have up front Billy Seymour has had a tremendous start to the championship. Looks really fit, really hungry, and I suppose he's put 4 consistent performances back to back now. I think Gary was sick of giving him man of the match awards in the North there for the last few weeks, and probably even in the North final, the one forward that Kildangan had, it was carrying a threat to Nenagh all through. So really, I think it was a performance Kildangan really, really needed, and it's something they can build on. Look, they can probably afford now to maybe allow Willie Connors have some time to go away, and maybe he'll have to probably sit out the Bursley match and give him a chance to just get that ankle right. And if they get him back in at their best, I think they're still the best team, but we're a very good performance. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and I'm looking for their score. Sean Hayes hit 1-2, Paul Flynn 6 points from play, Billy Seymour 1-3 from play. That goal at the start was an absolute rocket. Gary, basically all of their players getting dropped off the Tipperary panel minus Barry Hogan. There must be in terms of proving a point, this must be a club that's thinking, right, we'll show you what Kildangan's really about this year. And Billy Seymour, who of course, was seen as a player of huge promise, and last year or two, I don't know if it's fully happened with him for the club, obviously not with Tipperary. Like, he must have a serious bee in his bonnet.
In fairness to Billy, like Billy went traveling last year, so look, you can give a young fella a year off. Like, he just couldn't get into the swing of things. But like, just reminds me, the Dangan bet Ross Gray, obviously in the North semi-final, they bet by 20 points or whatever. I spoke to Billy after the game. I said, "Geez, Billy, there's something different about you this year." Like, they were hunting in packs. Like, they were 15 points up in the 60th minute. They were hunting like they were 10 points down. And Billy said in his interview, and I'm surprised he gave it away because he could have probably got in trouble in dressing room after. He says maybe 4 or 5 lads probably didn't stand up last year, and we have to rectify that. We've gone away during the winter, and we've had a chat with ourselves. So, look, disappointing North campaign, but that was a real Dangan there in the stadium. And if there's ever a stadium team, lads, it's the Dangan. Like, when they get going, mother of God, like, that was frightening. Like, regardless of Thurles missing Ronan and David Corbett, that was frightening. And all the change they made as well. Like, geez, Chucky, Darren Moore, I don't know if he was injured or not, I'm not too sure. But I thought he was having a good North campaign. He wasn't started, Shane. I don't know if you heard anything.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear anything. I thought it was strange that I thought he was harsh. Like, but I suppose that's the luxury Kildangan have. Like, they have a deep squad. Like, they have lads playing intermediate level hurling, so they're not dropping down too much for the next level of hurler. Like, so, like, they're generating competition for places going forward. There's no doubt about it. Like, Dan O'Mara has shown signs of maybe where he was in 2020 as well. So, look, as in terms of something to build on, like, it's a great. I'm sure they'll be absolutely buzzing and training to try and improve further over the next few weeks.
Yeah, like, Thurles have a lot of quality players and there's a lot of big players, but I thought they looked like a bit of a big, cumbersome size at times in certain positions without, going through and naming names and being harsh. But Joe Gallagher going centre back, geez, he was exceptional once again, Shane.
Yeah, no, I did think maybe it was. I can see the reasoning behind putting him back there. I thought maybe would they lose a small bit maybe in the forwards because he's such a leader in the half forward line. But I suppose he's so solid back there, and it releases Alan Flynn into the middle of the field from where he has the athleticism from his years with Tipp to break tackles, and he's able to hit over long range points as well. So look, they've thought about this well. Like that, David Sweeney, another very, very solid, good performance as well. So look, I think it was a full 60-minute performance Kildangan have probably been looking for a couple of years now. I think we saw in the last 10 minutes against Borrisley but that was a 10-minute performance. They needed 60, and they came very close to it last weekend.
Gary, what do you make of Thurles and their prospects this year? And even for Paddy Maher, it must be tough taking over a team when you've so recently played with them, and he's probably great friends with most of these lads.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Thurles. Like obviously on paper, Thurles every year should be winning county finals, but look, from a neutral point of view, I have no confidence in them. Like saying right now, right, Thurles going to win a county. Like I know they're missing the 2 boys on Sunday, but I thought Thurles after winning the mid, driving on now for next week, right, we'll make a statement here against Kildangan. Let's sink Kildangan while they're down, because Kildangan were down after North Championship. So this is the right chance for Thurles to, I suppose, to stick it down their throats, but I don't know. It seems nearly every year they seem to flatter to deceive. And Paddy point of view, yeah, look, but again, he's not stupid either. I know you have that old saying you're just out of play and you're too friendly with a couple of lads. I don't think he'd be worrying about that too much. He's got a good backroom team there with Penny McCormick and Michael Gleeson, so I wouldn't say that's a factor at all. But I don't know. It's just they're just a strange team to knuckle down. Like you look at Paddy Creed and Billy McCarthy and Aidan McCormick, that's probably the best full forward line in the county. Like hopefully Billy gets back to his best where he was with Tipp there a couple of years ago.
I think that was the only plus was the performance of Billy McCarthy. He was, but it looked somewhere back to his best. Look, I think it's probably maybe it's too far gone that we'll ever see him with a Tipp jersey on. But look, you never know you just never know. But I just like they've all the hurlers, but just particularly in the forwards, I just wonder when push comes to shove, who can they rely on? Like we know in Ronan defensively, he's their leader, but just further up the field, like if they can get Conor Stapleton maybe to become the leader of the attack, like they've said, they have all the talent and the scores, like, and but they're look, it's a huge game for them now against Clonolty on Sunday week in Templemore. Like I think it's a strange venue to bring it to there, but you think Clonolty knocked them out of the championship last year. Like I suppose that's probably the worry for Thurles. When we remember that game in Holy Cross last year, it was Clonalty when the game was there to be won. It was Clonalty who were able to dig deeper and won it. So I think that's something Thurles will be looking for on Sunday week is can we really dig out a game against a really good side?
I'll read out your team of the week there, Shane. So in goals, you've Rhys Shelley, Michael Hayes, the Templederry cornerback, Liam Ryan Drifter of Borris at fullback, Jimmy Ryan, the Holy Cross cornerback. The half-back line is the first two are Killadangan anyway, David Sweeney and Joe Gallagher, and then Conor Whelan of Mullinahone, who you mentioned earlier. Midfield is Alan Flynn of Killadangan and Michael Ryan of Clonalty Rossmore. Half-forward line, Jack Delaney, who was very impressive, Billy Seymour and Ben Hennessy of Holy Cross Ballycahill. And the full forward line, Mikey O'Shea, Mullinahone, John McGrath of Lockmore, and Tommy Heffernan, who was brilliant against Drom and Inch and scored 1-5.
Yeah, I know it was a hard one to pick because there were some like of Eddie Ryan was man of the match for Borris, but he did most of his scoring from play. Like Tommy, I've no drum player in there. I don't know. Like Tommy Nolan got 1-3, but then I was thinking, geez, Tommy Heffernan was the man of the match according to the match report I got. So look, it'll probably give Drum a bit of fire to say we won, we got nobody in the team of the week. But look, I just thought from reading the reports and the player ratings that they were the ones that stood out. I don't know if Gary had any thoughts on maybe somebody in there that shouldn't be in there.
It's always controversial, these team of the weeks and club rankings and everything, but I wouldn't have had Rhys in goals. I thought by his own standards Friday night, he was good. Don't get me wrong, he was good, but I thought Ewan Burke for Holy Cross was excellent on Sunday. Not even just puck outs. He made one or two saves, but he's quick off his line. He did loads of talking from the goals as well. So I'd have Ewan Burke in there, and that probably the only change. Look, you could have a different 15 as well, lads. Like there were so many games on, you could have 2 15s, but Ewan Burke over Rhys Shelley would be the only change I'd make there.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll go through the results in the Premier Intermediate. So Group 1, St. Mary's 22, Ballina 1-16, Cashel King Cormac's 1-13, Mine Temple 2-13. In Group 2, Thurles Sarsfield's 2-20, Aero Gannacarty 1-20. That must be a big blow losing to Thurles' second team for Aero. Carrick Swan 1-16, Sean Tracy's the same. Group 3, it was the same scoreline actually between Newport and Clonakilty. And Burgess 21 points, Silvermines 19. And Group 4, then Killinall with a hefty win over Portroe, 323-18. And Laura 2-14, Gartnahoog Glangool 19 points. So you had a 1 point victory there, Shane. So you might start with that and then just give us an overview of other fixtures that stood out to you.
Yeah, I suppose a very fortunate win for 50 minutes. We were out hurled. Gartnahoog were full.
Playing it down, Gary.
Oh no, you have to watch the game. Like it was 18-12 in the 52nd minute. Like so, we weren't as. We just maybe a week after the North final, we just didn't look at our sharpest. We were missing a couple of bodies, but look, no excuse. Like we were out hurled for 50 minutes and just got a worldie of a goal from Dara Guinan, and we just took off from there. Like and still needed another one, got level, and I suppose after that, like it's all the momentum was with us, and Bonner Maher won a free and Colin Fogarty stuck it over. We drove a couple of bad wides after that. But look. Overall, like the performance probably not where it was against Burgess, but look, sometimes you just gotta find a way to win when not playing well, and I think that's what happened for us. Like I was saying to a lot of the Gartnahoog lads after, and as commiserating, I said it's a fair chance we'll see you again if we both get out. Because like I was very impressed with Keane Hayes, David Nolan, Damien Corbett. He looks the minor from last year. He looks a wispy player. Like he fills out and stays developing. God, he's going to play a senior for Tipp. There's no doubt about it. But look, very happy with the win. And I suppose sometimes I say you just got to dig one out when you're not playing well.
Gar, any of the Premier Intermediate fixtures stand out to you?
Jesus, where'd you start in Holy Cross Sunday evening? Mother of God.
12 Apostles in Cashel.
The 12 Apostles is right. Look, I'll start there, I suppose. I have the notes here in front of me, but sure, it's all the one. I say mine will be absolutely sick, and it'll be a while before they get over this one, lads. Like Cashel were down to 13, and mine were down to 14. Mine had the wind on their backs for the second half, and it was a strong wind. And Cashel were just absolute dogs. But then again, mine just played into their hands, lads. Like if you're playing with the wind on your back and you have an extra man, like they were just lobbing ball down. Yeah. Like they should have been drawing the lads out, or even if you have 20 whites, have your 20 whites from the middle of the park or your own half back line, because you're free shots and goal. But they were just drawing the Cashel forwards on them. And I've never seen a second half like it in all the games I've ever played in or been to. Cashel, Cathal Quinn got man of the match, lads. If he's not in Thurles over the winter, it's all one.
I liked him the last 2 years in Tip 20s. I agree. He caught my eye, Sunday evening.
And Ross
Bonner, like Owen Connolly, we always know Owen is a brilliant club man, but
yeah,
Cathal Quinn had something about him, hasn't he?
Oh, he has. He has it all there. He got 1-2 from play, but like he was cornerback, wing back, midfield. He was everywhere. I have to mention Jared Brown. Cashel came out in the second half, and basically they had 7 defenders, 3 midfielders, and 1 forward. It was like a lone striker in soccer. Jared was up against 3 backs the whole time. He still got 2 points in play and 1 free as well. He ran himself into the ground because he didn't puck a ball in the first half. But Ross Bonner was very good as well. He was close to man the match with Cathal, but I don't know. I don't know where to start. We could spend the whole show talking about this game alone. Devin Ryan, straight red card. Danny Maloney, straight red card. Nathan Ryan, and I might forget another one. There was so many. Tommy Templeton, yeah. So look, depending on what the ref puts in the report, Cashel have their backs up against the wall. But I tell you, I'll never write Cashel off again.
It'll be fascinating though with Cashel now. It was like they're playing as a Mary's next. Okay, they'll start with 15, but like, will they actually be better for it? Like, will the 15 guys that started? I think the rest of those players will might just rise up. I think like, and they have a deep panel. Like they've had good underage teams, and like will it say maybe to the guys who let the team down with the red cards to say, lads, when your suspensions are up, you're on the sideline. Like it might just galvanize them a small bit. Like, okay, maybe in the short term it'll hurt them, but maybe long term that sort of nature of a win might galvanize the team. I don't know what you think, Shane.
Well, it can do.
Yeah.
And it, like if they go and perform well without those 3 lads the next day out, sure, like that's unreal for a manager. Then all of a sudden he has depth. Those lads that didn't get their game, that are decent name players, they all of a sudden have to rise their game, and it kind of drives competition, I'd say, within the panel. I'll just go to the intermediate championship then as well and run through the fixtures, and you can give us your highlights from that. Carrick Davins 5-14, Arvale Rovers 16, Drummond Inch 2-15, Knockavilla Kickham's 1-18, a draw. Capawhite 15, Golden Kilfeacle 1-9, Ballingarry 16, Killadangan 12. Group 3 saw Borlath and Duala beat Kilsheal and Kilcash by a point, 117-19. Moneygall had an 8-point win over Shannon Rovers, 318-310. Skeena Rinky 14, Ballybacon Grange 7, and the final game in the intermediate, Burskane 327, Upper Church 16. So fairly comprehensive there. Shane, what would your highlight be there?
Like I said last week, I think the winner will come from Group 4. I think Boherlahan beaten Kilsheelan by a point. Like I saw these 2 sides play in a preliminary quarter final last year. They went to penalties, and it looks like it was another tight one again. So I think the fact that Boherlahan edged this one, I think they're, of the teams that didn't make the quarterfinals last year, I think they're a serious dark. I wouldn't say they're dark horse, but I think from where they were, they're going to be there. Kilsheelan will be there. Good win for Moneygall again. Like I thought, maybe having just survived extra time against the Rovers, that they would maybe blow them out of the water again this time. But no, like that scoreline was false. Like that was a level game with 5 minutes to go. Moneygall got 2-2 in the last few minutes to build an 8-point winning margin. So look, it looks rough on Shannon Rovers. Like, but you think if you put them in any other group, you'd say there's a fair chance they'll get out of it. But like they have Kilsheelan and Moneygall or Boherlahan to try and win. If they win them, great. They're in a quarter final. If you have to try it, one win mightn't even be enough to avoid relegation battles. So look, I just think it's that they seem to be the unfortunate team in the whole intermediate championship.
Yeah. Any fixture stand out for you? Any results, Gary?
No, but I hit the nail on the head there with Shane and the Rovers results. When I saw it first, I was like, right, fairly handy win for Moneygall, but I spoke to a couple of lads from the Rovers and someone from Moneygall as well. And like Shane said, they only pulled away in the last couple of minutes. Like, talk about a series of unfortunate events, like Rovers' first 2 games this year against Moneygall and in that group as well. But they'll be fine. Look, regardless of what happens in the last 2 results, they'll be fine. They won't be going down there too strong. I did the Drom and Knockavilla game. Knockavilla were actually very impressive in the second half. They really got going. They were 6 points down. They weren't able to hit the ball for the first 15 minutes, but they came back against Drom. So look, I suppose I didn't see too much of the intermediate action over the weekend, but Knockavilla's second half performance, and this was Moneygall after winning an Art, and in that group that would kind of stand out. But look, come here, I know we can't go back to Premier Intermediate, but I have to mention Killinall, how they were super impressive against Port. I know Port were deflated, but Killinall were missing bubbles, and that stood out to me, the performance of the weekend. But just I think Killinall are going to be fair hard stop in the Premier Intermediate this year. Sorry for saying that, Shane.
Yeah, we have them Sunday week. I see the county board have built it in Semple Stadium, so look, that probably we'll have to serve up a game to make it worthy of us, given the Premier Intermediate game in Semple Stadium on Sunday week. So.
Yeah, and you went with your Premier Intermediate team of the week. In goals, Michael Kendi of Laura, Bork O'Dwyer, Killinall, David Nolan, Gartnahoe, Glengool, Killian O'Dwyer, Killinall. Half back line, St. Mary's is James Morris, Owen Connolly of Cashel, and Sean Ryan of Sean Tracy's. The midfield is Michael Ryan of Burgess and Cathal Quinn of Cashel Kincormac's. Half forward line, Clonakilty's John Joe Ryan, Conor O'Mahony of Newport, and Stephen Kerwin of Burgess. And the full forward line, Ross Peters of St. Mary's, Jason Ford Silvermines, and Keane Hayes of Gartnahoe Glengool, who we were talking about earlier. And then your power rankings: Killinall number 1, Laura 2, Gartnahoe Glengool 3, Cashel Kincormac's 4, followed then by Burgess, St. Mary's, Thurles Sarsfields, Carrick-Swan, Sean Tracy's Newport, Clonakilty, Silvermines, Ballina, Aerogan, Carty, of course, were senior not so long ago, Moyne Temple Toohey, and then Portrue 16th. Now, it's hard to remember all that off the top of your head, Gary, but anything standing out to you there?
He's been cute, all right, having Laura second, but no, he's right with Killinall, which is, again, Killian Dwyer got 2 points and played from full back, and they were just fierce, impressive all over. Owen Barry, lads, geez, he was just an absolute wizard. He was unbelievable. And then they brought off Mark Statham off the bench. I think Mark got 1-2, I think, or 1-1, but he set up a couple of scores as well. They've real strength and depth, and like even Declan Fannin there on the bench, there's 0% body fat on him. I'd say he could still do a job inside, but Killinall definitely at the top, and the bottom, yeah, there's 4 or 5 teams really disappointed me over the weekend. The Mines Burgess game, I watched it back there yesterday. It was a very poor standard game. Clonakilty Newport, by all accounts, was a cracker, but it's really starting to take shape. I know it's only one game, but there's only really 2 or 3 teams stand out to me that can win it. And there's probably 7 or 8 that could go down. So, no, I'd say it's nailed the head there with the rankings.
Yeah, like people may say, why Gartnahoe at 3 when they lost? Well, I thought they were very impressive. Look, they won a mid-championship. I thought, let's say, for 45, 50 minutes, they were the better team than Laura. And I just think, like, not like the intermediate. I think that group 4, like it's Killinall, Laura, and Gartnahoe. Would I be surprised if the 3 of them ended up in the semi-finals? No. But I do think the South champions, the mid North champions, and the mid champions. Like, so, you think they have been the 3 form sides in the Premier Intermediate grade so far this year. Okay,
so I just go. If there's anything else you want to touch on before we finish up, Shane, I'll just remind people that the Nenagh Guardian is out and there's a huge amount of coverage.
Yeah, I suppose before we go on, I might just talk to Gary about it. I suppose the Senior Football Championship is starting next weekend, starting to Thursday, Drom and Inch against Aerogan and Carty. And I suppose from an North point of view, great to see a North club back in the Senior Championship with Ballina. They're up against Ardfinnan on Friday night. So it'll be fascinating to see how they go. Like, they're without Stephen O'Brien, who hurt his shoulder against Meath in the Tailteann Cup a few months ago. Like, he got surgery on it. He's not due back till the knockout stages if they get that far. So, but like Ballina are all in, lads. They're not going up to senior to make up the numbers. Like, John Mahan is in as a consultant on a monthly basis. So, like, they're doing everything they can to develop football in Ballina, and I suppose that underage talent they had won a county under 19A a few years ago. So, like, they have the ability there. Owen Power, Matthew Power, that were in with Tipp underage panels. Charlie King on the Tipp minors last year, very impressive. Like, so he's on their adult team. So, like, I think if Ballina beat Ardfinnan this weekend, I think they'll get to a quarter final. So you'll always have commercials, or they're always there. Like, they're starting off against Kilsheelan. Without Bill Maher, I think that's a big loss for Kilsheelan. You're looking at Upper Church-Strabane got to a final last year. Will they kick on, or will they maybe the hurling form, will they suffer a bit? Of course, you have Lockmore always there. So, like, I think it's a good county championship that's going to start. JK Brackens are always there. I just think from your point of view, Gary, like you're doing a good few of the games on Clubber. I'd say your voice and the voices of the rest of the lads, I'd say, were sore after last weekend, and I know you're doing a few games this weekend. So like it's and like everybody's been saying it, and no live streaming has got a bit of a kick in with Go this year, but like from the first round of the county championship, like 17 games last weekend, and just incredible. Like even myself there on Sunday morning, I was trying to kill a few hours before I went somewhere, and I was watching Borris Lee and Killinolty, and then I was flicking over to Mullinahone and Brackens, and then come back to watch the finish of Killinall and Sars. It's a fantastic service, like so.
Yeah, no, like even I was doing a double header in Littleton Sunday morning, and between the intermediate game and the senior game, I had the Mines Burgess game on the laptop in front of me, and I was pulling my hair out. But no, listen, come here. That's fair play to Jimmy and Lar. Like they do all the work behind the scenes. Like 17 games in Tipp, 22 games in total across Kerry and Waterford as well. And I think we're trying to do 6 or 7 football games this weekend as well. So look, it's just great, which is, look, I'm only recently retired myself, so I can't pick up the shtick anymore. So it's great to be able to talk absolute muck about it as now at the moment. So, but on a Ballina point of view, I spoke with someone from Ballina. Stephen O'Brien is getting a checkup, I think, this Friday. So I think he's getting the go-ahead, fingers crossed, off the surgeon this Friday. So if he is, he should be back for maybe 10-15 minutes for the hurling or round 2 of the football. But I have to give credit to Ballina. Like Lockmore are different. Lockmore have the same set of players and the same management. So that's completely separate. And I think it's easy in a way. Ballina have a separate management team for the football. And I think going forward, if they want to balance both senior hurling or intermediate hurling and senior football, they'll probably have to strike that balance or having the same management, because I have to give them credit for what they're trying to do. Senior football in our Tipp has probably been, it's probably just not getting the love that it deserves. And instead the Ballina boys be hoping the Killinane get knocked out fairly lively, so maybe a few of the boys will be crossing over like they did a couple of years ago. But yeah, I'd love to see Ballina really kick on and get out of the group and just get to maybe a knockout, because I think it's important for football as a whole in our Tipp. I think if clubs can try and maybe take it more seriously over the next few years, there's no real standout team that's going to win a county senior football title year after year. Do you know, there's a real open championship there. So I'm really looking forward to the games of the weekend, because I suppose you're talking 100 miles an hour with the hurling. You might get a bit of a breakdown with the football, but no, looking forward to the games of the weekend. Yeah.
Okay, well, look, that's it from the show.
Before you go, Gary, I don't know if Shane, you're not, Gary's a good man for the horses. So before we go, he has to give us a tip for Galway now today. I like good one now.
All right, good one. I tell you, I actually there's a mare I'm involved with. She's running today, Binks. She's running at 7:25. She worked now €1 each way. In the Galway plate, in the main one today, I would be, I'd be on Easy Game for Willie. Easy Game comes in at a nice weight. Hewitt for Shark Hanlon has top weight. So Easy Game for Willie. That'd be the each way play today.
Okay.
So Binks an Easy Game. That's the lunch money today.
Right. Okay, lads, that's it for the show this week. Gary Toohey from Clubber TV, and of course Shane Brophy, the head of sport in Nenagh Guardian. Thanks very much, lads. We'll chat to you again soon.
Lads.
Long, James.